Stuart Ayres, of course, passionate about his area. You just heard what a local community desperately wants. So why can't this happen? And what's your view about whether it should happen or not?
So let's be really clear, Paul, it absolutely needs to happen. What Patrick just told your listeners is correct. We've gone through a period of time, pretty much since the early 1990s, where we've had low rainfall and basically drought. So unless you're over the age of 50, you probably haven't experienced a flood as an adult in the Hawkesbury Nepean of any significant standing until the flood arrived last year. But before that, and pretty much for the last 200 odd years as we've been keeping records, we know that this area will flood. We know it has the capacity to flood frequently, and we know that it has the capacity to have very significant floods. And so what we've proposed is to raise Warragamba Dam wall by 14 metres. That would hold 1,000 gigalitres of water back in a flood event. That's 2 times the size of Sydney Harbour. And that makes a profound difference downstream. It's not going to stop every flood, particularly those really big floods. But the floods that we're seeing now, that would have wiped off about 3.5 metres in the flood last year, probably about the same given the flood levels that we're seeing at the moment this year. And I can tell you, if you're a turf farmer in the Hawkesbury, or you run a small business close to the river, or you live in a community like Windsor or Richmond, every single metre counts.
Bloody oath. I spent many a year at Richmond. It's exactly where I went to university. So I know plenty of that part of the world like the back of my hand. So put simply, when was the last time this was discussed at Cabinet? When is there an announcement? When does something happen?
So we've gone through all of our legal requirements. There's no doubt that doing this will have some significant impact across the environment. We've been through the most extensive environmental impact study that I think the state has done on almost any individual infrastructure project. People have had the opportunity to have their say. We're now at the submissions report stage where we've got to collate all of those submissions and make adjustments to our proposal. The next big contest is going to be biodiversity offsets, where people are trying to propose that taxpayers have to pay an additional cost to have this wall raised because we're going to temporarily hold water back behind the dam. It's really important for everyone listening to the show tonight. The higher wall is not going to store water permanently for drinking water. It's about creating a wall for additional airspace. So I really can't understand why we've got to pay a biodiversity offset if we're not actually storing water permanently behind the wall. The only time we'd have water there is when it's not in people's living rooms.
Yeah, bloody oath. Nice to talk to you, Minister. All the best.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you, Stuart Ayres there in the New South Wales Government. We will stay on this. I want to be action, not talk. So if you've got suggestions, if you've got people that you want to get in front of the camera, you send me an email, paul@skynews.com.au.